Tales from my D&D campaign.
Previously, so we have to get the third spoon ourselves. And save my steward.
We have to find some way to drain the water. That water hurt. Messing with pointy things they don't understand. Lightning balls. I've been damaged. Poor Commander Crossbow Karma.
You have to stop the draining. But we didn't like the water.
That water hurt.
So Angel runs off to a higher bridge to loot the assassin. He had a magic crossbow with precision, but Draven had a feat that made it redundant, and the weapon was too large for Angel to use. The rest of them go down to the lower bridge to find out what the hell is going on.
Seriously, what the hell is going on?
And the heavily armored Warforged is like, I'm glad you routed the Kuatoa, but without the water, we're going to have bigger problems. Water is a powerful element. Ginneron uses it to absorb and sequester different forms of energy, and that helps isolate the facility from interference, as well as protecting the world outside from research accidents. Right now, it is also keeping at bay the things which have escaped from the Fel and Fey labs. What things? And the old Warforged explains that the research subjects are kind of like minor elementals of the Feywild and the Shadowfell, like not an earth elemental or an air elemental, but a literal Fel or Fey elemental. Ginneron was using them to study planar energy for teleportation portals, but the facility was shut down due to fears of astral contamination. And that sounds bad, so they go back up to water management, but Draven was right the first time, and the emergency drain will keep going until the troughs are empty. He turns the water inflow back on, but the levels will still bottom out in about 45 minutes, and it will take many hours to refill. The only other way the Warforged can think of to avert the disaster would be to speak with the controller up in Mechanical. It may be able to override the water systems. Just tell the workers that the old priest sent you. This guy seems pretty legit, so Draven leaves his homunculus, 7, to use his telepathy and keep the party in communication with the ancient Warforged. And they want to move fast, so they leave the dwarf squad with him at the core, the entrance of which he's actually able to protect with a wall of force, using energy from the facility, helping to explain how he hadn't been crushed by Kua Commander's troops. So as they head up, they realize that the inverted extruded step pyramid of Ginneron's atrium is a lot noisier than it was. Obviously there's the sound of rushing water, but there are a lot of other noises that weren't there before, as though something about the water had been dampening sound in the facility, and that effect was fading as it drained. Now their own footsteps are louder, and as they go up, they hear the metal on metal of the workers moving around, and even echoes of what may be Diluvian troops moving in the upper levels. But they get to Mechanical with the noisy machinery wall and the blocked-off spiky murder hall, and they find Temple 1 skulking in the corner, and he's like, I'm sorry I ran off. I'm not designed for combat. And they're like, don't worry about it, 'cause he doesn't do much anyway. And as usual, when dealing with anything they don't want to kill, they make Draven do the talking. The old priest sent us. We need to speak with the controller. And after a tense moment, the workers pull back their hammers and stabbers and shooters and move the metal wall plate so the heroes can squeeze by, and as soon as they're past, the machines block it off again, as though still worried about threats from outside. The room on the far side of the wall of gears and junk, still no idea what that does, if anything, is the same size as the outer room, but Temple 1 reflexively steps onto one of the thingies, and the arms begin to work, magically and mechanically repairing him, and in a few seconds he steps off good as new. Those things just continuously repair constructs? That's amazing! When all this is over, we need to make this our new base. It is pretty nice. Easily defensible once we plug up that waterway the KTs use to get in.
As long as we can fix the water.
The dead dwarf beside the repair stations is a bit of a puzzle. There is dried blood on his beard and clothing, but they can't see any injuries. The good news is he doesn't look like the portrait of DeCorso's missing steward. They end up stripping him down, purely for investigative purposes, and find that he died of slashing wounds to the chest, even though his breastplate was in perfect shape, not even a scratch. And they figure out that workers must have found the dwarf, injured or dying, and dragged him back here to fix him. But the repair station couldn't heal living things. All it could do was fix his damaged armor, and then, when he didn't get up, the arms just pushed him off to the side. There's nothing to do but continue on, down one last passage, and a short distance around the corner the floor drops off into 6 inches of water, which is concerning, but much less freaky than the 6 inches of water on the ceiling. Both pools have a soft blue glow which matches the light bars throughout the facility. So is this whole place electrified then?
I don't know.
I'll test it. I step into the water. You take no damage. It's not electrified. I am Ginneron Controller. What do you do? I am tasked with controlling this facility and maintaining the integrity of its systems, and the safety of both occupants and those outside the facility. Can you see everything that happens in here? I was designed with full awareness covering the entire facility. Unfortunately, nearly all of my sensors have been destroyed. I now receive most of my information as indirect feedback from the workers.
Can you refill the water?
And water splashes up from the floor and down from the ceiling, meeting in the middle and freezing into a 3D ice diagram of a water trough. I have commenced emergency refilling procedures. However, the rate of inflow is still slower than the emergency drain. As a result, the water level must bottom out before beginning to recover. It will then take approximately 2 hours to refill the full water shielding levels. And that's no good. But Angel's like, a bunch of dwarves came down here a few months ago. What happened to them? And the ice melts back to the floor and ceiling and splashes out to form a map of this floor. A small group of dwarves are holding out in Supply Area B. I had no choice but to seal them in when they were cornered by invading Kuatoa forces, and my workers have been locked in a continuous battle to prevent the invaders from getting at them.
They've been stuck in that room for 2 months?
More like 3 months now. Where is the magic spoon that creates food? The ice instantly melts, then it splashes up and freezes into the exact same floor map. Supply Area B. Of course. So they should still be alive. And Temple 1 addresses the controller a little nervously. Thank you for repairing me. You were attached to the temple level of this facility and therefore authorized to use the repair bay. He steps a little closer to better address the sphere. Tell me, controller, what did you do when they freed the Warforged from servitude? Did that include you? I don't like this. When Isolas Turi, last Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, Minister of Treasury, Minister of Science, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of the Interior, and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Itara, pronounced all Warforged to be free, it could be argued that the spirit of his pronouncement would include other sentient constructs such as myself. However, I am immobile and part of this facility. Therefore, I have chosen to accept a more literal interpretation and to continue performing my duties. I'm moving into position to cut him down if he moves any closer to it. You're just going to attack him? I don't know. Maybe I can just grapple him, but this is way wrong. As soon as he opened his mouth in here, it felt wrong. And Temple 1 perceives his movement and stops advancing, but he's still like, there is one thing I'd like to ask of you, though. Can you activate the portal? I cannot do that. All portal research was aborted by order of the Minister of Science due to potential causal links to the astral plague. Additionally, the portal is incomplete. Attempting to activate it would be dangerous under any circumstances and potentially catastrophic at the current water shielding levels. I'm going to have to insist. He lunges towards the pedestal, pulling a small handheld tool from some hiding place. I grab him, or I should just cut him in half. But no, I'll grapple him. And he grabs him but rolls abominably on his grapple check, while Temple 1, who is nowhere near as strong, rolls a natural 19, managing to stretch and drag himself far enough to jab the ends of his small U-shaped tool into the pedestal, and then goes limp in Little One's grasp as a red swirl creeps into the blue glow of the sphere, expanding and forcing out the blue. And it emits a wave of force that hits everyone with like a plus 25 bull rush attack, pushing most of them all the way back to the walls, even the limp body of Temple 1. Then the water does become electrified, and the sphere surrounds itself with pillars of ice. My, what interesting defenses. This could be fun. It wasn't. The ice pillars were not that hard to smash, but the orb generated 2 more each round. At level 7, most of the party only gets 1 attack per round, meaning they need to concentrate heavily on offense to break through the walls and land hits on the orb. But Draven was having a bit of a breakdown because he wanted so badly to save the controller and make Ginneron their new home base, and all the while it's alternately freezing the floor, melting it with fire blasts, and electrifying it, which forces Black to heal the squishies as well. So a bunch of them fail the reflex save to avoid having their feet frozen in place, and they're forced to spend a bunch of actions breaking them free and not smashing ice pillars, though Angel releases several in one shot with a flask of Alchemist fire. And the enemy is like, It appears the controller was telling the truth. The portal is not complete. Fortunately, I don't care. And they are getting zapped and fried and pierced as they try to break through, but if any of them have any defensive bonuses against traps, they do get those bonuses against the controller. So Angel's like, if they're traps, I can disarm traps, right? And that makes sense, but I ruled that each of the controller's attack modes was basically a separate trap. That was way too many to disarm them all in combat, but she does start searching for the one that electrifies the water in the room.
That water hurt.
And the voice intones, the energy balance has totally failed due to containment breaches in the Fey Lab and the Fel Lab. And everyone makes a united push to knock down the ice pillars, and they break through enough to get a couple hits on the orb itself, but its hardness makes it pretty tough to damage by anything but Little One's Mountain Hammer attack. But then the blue glow of the water turns disturbingly red, and Seven warns Draven that all the light bars in the facility have done the same, and he relays the old priest's reaction. By Ataru's beard, what are they doing up there? The portal has become energized. And the bad guy is like, commencing portal activation sequence.
That's not good.
Damn it, I still want this place as a base. I wanted to keep the controller too. Won't be much good if it all explodes. I still want to kill this guy. I knew as soon as Temple 1 opened his mouth here that something was wrong. I should have just bone crushed him. I'm not sure that would have been reasonable at that point. Maybe, but I so knew it was wrong. By the 4th round, it was a rout. They had taken way too much damage and barely dealt any, not counting ice pillars, so they are forced to pull back around the corner and heal up. Seven's been describing what Draven sees to the old priest, and he thinks he knows what this bad guy is. Long, long ago, before the Shadow War, the Atarans invented artificing, created the Warforged, then they all died of a mysterious plague. Without them, within 300 years, the Warforged pretty much all died or placed themselves in suspended animation, like Temple 1 and the Warforged robot Lumberjack. But there were some very rare exceptions. The old priest was just a low-grade engineering assistant here at Ginneron until portal research was closed down, but by devoting his time to studying all he could about artificing and magic, and by his faith in Intaru, he learned how to sustain his body indefinitely, and he is probably not unique in that. But there is supposedly another way. Rumors of several Warforged who learned to break the bonds of body and spirit, enabling them to survive by stealing the bodies of others. Some scholars think these so-called Dark Ancients are responsible for the existence of the scattered troves of preserved Warforged which are uncovered from time to time, ensuring a supply of fresh bodies. And this Dark Ancient is now into full gloat mode. Don't worry, there is a manual override control near the portal. The controller is, by design, incapable of disabling this control. Fortunately, I'm not really the controller. And then the orb grows dark, all the ice collapses back into water, and for a moment the eyes of Temple 1 glow red. He sits up where he had been discarded, looks at Little One and says, "Astral Plague has a nice ring to it.
Goodbye, meatbags.
And dimension doors away. Damn it! I thought about smashing the body, but we were so busy I wasn't sure it would do anything. It would have dampened his mood a bit, but beating on poor old Temple 1 would not have helped you out at all. Well, the controller is gone. It's inert now. They head back out and find the workers have dropped into some kind of default mode or something, just wandering around looking for things to repair or tidy up. But one of them falls over on its side and starts making strange noises, like parts are grinding on the inside, gas leaking from cylinders, like it's tearing itself apart. But the hisses, crunches, and servo-type noises quickly start to sound like semi-intelligible words. And the construct fails. And they're all like, duh! And I'm like, shut up, I had to practice that. I didn't know whether you'd meet up with the old priest first, let alone that you'd talk to him telepathically during the fight.
So, do we get the dwarves first or the portal?
The dwarves have the spoon. Yes, but the portal is going to kill everyone. Honestly, it feels like it's on a timer, whereas the dwarves have been in there for months. If they're safe now, they should be safe until we get back. Do you think these things will still be protecting them, though? Now that the controller's gone. Arg, that's true. I was hoping we could get them on the way up, but it might not be safe to leave them. And the spoon. So they rush over to Supply Area B, and with the lower levels of sound-dampening water, they can clearly hear sounds of battle up above and the occasional crackle of electricity down below them. And from all around there are ghostly moaning and murmuring sounds. And some of the light bars around the facility are starting to shut down or burn out, because the red wasn't dim and creepy enough already. And suddenly they get attacked by these dog-sized tentacle things which climb up from under the bridge to flank them.
Next time on Tales from My D&D Campaign.
But Little One's like, where does the water drain to? Because despite his wounds, he's still thinking about chasing down Kua Commander, who had just escaped with all the good magic loot from that last fight.
It drains into a winding natural tunnel, which flows into an underground lake some miles away. Even an aquatic creature is unlikely to survive the trip, particularly if he was as injured as you say.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally sure he's dead.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, no way that guy survives.